Take the towel off. Put it next to you so you can see.
How you doing, man?
Oh, come in. Well, matter of fact, yeah, pop on everything. So how you feeling today, my G?
I'm good, dog. Just like a blessing.
Good.
Blessing.
Mic check. Mic check.
Oh God. Oh, oh.
Stu, I'm about to send you to Addy. All right. About to go live pretty soon, everybody or anybody who's watching. Tuning in. Send this address real quick.
You gotta let me get a recording of this, bro.
Of course.
Try to get off the screen.
I'm sure you. Okay. Press the OK, that circle button in the middle. And then there you go. Do what you normally do. Hit that button you normally push. Bam. There we go. Pick up the whole thing and move the whole thing. No. Keep it closer to him and just move the tripod right in there, and then move it to open up his other shoulder a little bit. This one. Give him more space on that side of the tag, like that. Perfect. No,
Yep.
look at yourself. How you look? You're tad overexposed on one camera. I'm gonna turn you down. Hold on. You're a little hot. Oh, I forgot. Okay. Coming in hot. Yep. Look up. We'll go from there. Makes you look summertimey. All right, we'll catch him. I want facial expressions. All right. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All we're gonna do is here. It's just doing an hour just. So you have 1 minute from. So,
You already did a mic check on me. Mic check. 1, 2.
all right. So I'll give you a brief rundown. This screen that you're currently looking at with the flyer on it, that's the program screen.
You said with the what on it?
With the
flyer.
flyer.
Word.
That's what's going to be constantly being shown to the audience.
Word.
Then you have your close-up camera, and then you have our general camera.
Right.
So those will be our 3 angles.
Right.
So once we get swung in, we're gonna let a few people build up. Let the live build up, get a few people in the room, and then we'll start. You excited?
Bro, I feel blessed.
Hey,
I should have got up earlier so I could have burnt it down.
turn the downstream key off. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Jordan Hall, CEO. Oh, God, that was what that. CEO, owner, professional, Purple Glass Media, and I'm here with Maurice Johnson,
Yo.
Florida State professional, Florida State professor.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Maurice is considered the hip hop professor, but it actually goes deeper than that. Tell me, what is the name of your course?
Well, the name of the course that I'm getting a lot of attention for is called Hip Hop Culture and Global Mass Communication. So the foundational course is titled Intro to Mass Media, MMC 2000.
Okay.
I've taught it at least a dozen times before, but at Florida State, they allow me the academic freedom to teach it as Hip Hop Culture and Global Mass Communication.
So it's an Intro to Mass Media class.
Facts.
And in order to get the way you teach it, they would have to look you up as a specific professor.
Exactly. Like, for example, I'm getting emails from students now asking, am I teaching the class this fall, trying to get in. Like, my class closed pretty early. Like, as soon as registration starts, it'd be done.
Okay. Do you think that your class has raised the profile of Florida State University any, even though it's a well-touted school already?
Oh, yeah. Florida State University is one of the top research institutions in the country. When I got hired, the dean at the time, Larry Dennis, told me that he found value in what I was bringing to the table. And since I've started working at Florida State, I got a little bit of attention in the media, so I do feel like it's brought some light to the College of Communication and Information. And I'm just thankful that my colleagues have supported me throughout my time there, and I've got a couple of mentors, Dr. Felicia Jordan Jackson and Dr. Shanta Haywood, that have pretty much, made my transition from a historically Black institution to a predominantly white institution a whole lot easier.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to hurry up and kind of touch on the main reason we're here with Maurice, Professor Johnson. But really, I've known Nova since I was 18.
Facts.
We go back from Tops
orientation
to being on a set at FAMU. I've known Nova for many years, and we actually clicked up the first time from rap.
Fact.
From rapping.
That's a whole fact, bro.
and we spent many hours chilling together. And Nova is an avid reader. Nova reads a ton. So I used to come into his room while he has books spread out everywhere, and we used to talk about movies. He has a whole movie collection.
Still got
Speaking
it.
of that, name me some of your top movies from your. How many movies do you have?
Hundreds.
Name me
Hundreds.
your top three.
Top three. Uh, The Godfather 1
Mm-hmm.
and 2 might be better than 1,
Right.
you know, but I like 1. Uh, Give me Malcolm X, and I'm gonna keep that third one open. I'm gonna meditate on that during the interview. But
Okay.
there's several in that third spot though.
Okay. So speaking of movies, right?
Yeah.
You use black film,
Right.
music,
Yeah.
Poetry, art
Right.
in your
For
curriculum.
sure.
Can you explain that
For
deeper
sure.
to why they give you that whole hip hop moniker as being a
For
professor?
sure. For sure. Well, when I first started teaching the class, it was around the time that I started my PhD program in educational leadership. Now, as a black male, I know that a lot of us are interested in hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? So, it being the youth dominant culture, it only made sense to me to utilize it within the classroom. So, one semester I decided to use, you know, videos, movies, we listening to albums, and we're gonna correlate the subject matter in the media with the subject matter in the book. Because if you're teaching at a historically black institution, I feel like blackness should be incorporated in everything we teach. So if I'm teaching mass media, we're gonna discuss black representation in media. You know what I'm saying? So one semester we did the whole black exploitation film thing. We watched the Mac, we watched Superfly, Mandingo, just to understand that era of when we were first being showcased as the protagonists in motion pictures. You know what I'm saying? Then we turned around and watched Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood, which was, of course, during the Hood movie era. And then we ended the semester with a discussion on the 1980s, what was going on in between the black exploitation era and the Hood movie era, to kind of come to an understanding of how things got to be where they are right now. So I've done that. Right now, I'm utilizing the documentary series on Netflix, Hip Hop Evolution, as kind of like an additional text. 16 weeks in the semester is 4 seasons with 4 episodes. So we watch an episode a week. And at the same time, we're listening to the music that's correlating with the errors that's being discussed in the episode. We're watching movies that are correlating, like the West Coast Gangster Rap unit. We watching Boys in the Hood, but we listening to the Chronic, we listening to Doggy Style, and we listening to interviews of artists from that era that can document, LA gang culture and the effect that it had on the subject matter within the lyrics, which is similar to how the industry exploits Chicago gang culture today.
Right.
So it's always a continuous cycle as far as culture is concerned. Like nothing is new, and you can see that in the youngins, the way they sample in the music. And we talk about sampling in my class, and a lot of times I introduce the songs that were sampled for the hits that they love, and they like, oh my God, I never knew this existed. And that's the whole point of the class, so that you understand what you're listening to.
All right. So bringing on that point, right?
Right.
So you understand what you're listening to. We understand that hip hop as a whole communicates to us.
Facts.
And it originated communicating from us. So how do you talk about, because we spoke earlier about the social economical side of the arts, to be able to communicate that to people for real life purposes?
Well, hip hop has an organic connection to education.
Right.
You feel me? They started taking the arts programs out of the school. Us, we're just geniuses. We took it to the street. You want to take the visual arts programs, we're going to do graffiti. You want to take the dance programs, we're going to B-boy, we're going to B-girl it out. You want to take the musical instruments from us, we're going to turn the turntable into an instrument, which it wasn't even meant to be. And then after that, we're natural linguists. Our linguistic intelligence has always, the oral tradition from Africa spans thousands of years. So it's nothing for us to speak rhythmically, especially over beats. So the 4 elements of hip hop culture come out of, that marginalization of Black education. you know, but the cultural antecedents, you know, the music and the rhyming, we had been doing that already. We was rhyming in the slave field. So again, hip hop is just a continuation of African tradition, you know what I'm saying? And even you know, the park jams in New York, that was influenced by Jamaican sound system culture. And a lot of the forefathers of the culture, you know, Flash, Bambaataa, and Herc, you know, they come from the Caribbean.
Right.
So it's only natural that that Caribbean influence is prevalent within hip hop.
Okay. So who are your favorite creatives that you use the most? Which creatives do you find the most value in your teaching style?
Well, when it comes to discussing society, of course, Tupac.
Mm.
When it comes to the observation of history, I'm more of a Nas type.
Okay.
I feel like Jay-Z's portfolio could be studied in business classes. You know, there's several ways to go about utilizing artists within the culture. For one semester, for the freshman studies course that I taught, it's called SLS 1101. SLS stands for Student Life Skills. We modeled our program that semester after other institutions that had themed first year experience courses. So I saw that Auburn University had a pop culture and activism course. You know, immediately I said, well, I got to use Tupac and do my own version of that. So that particular semester, I used Tupac's lyrics as the textbook.
Mm.
You feel me? Like we didn't have a textbook. We use Tupacalypse now.
Ha.
We use Strictly for My
Okay.
Niggas. We use Thug Life. We use Me Against the World and All Eyes on Me as the text. And,
That's crazy.
simultaneously, we watched the Black Panther Vanguard of the Revolution documentary so they could understand his background, his mother being a Panther. And then we watched Juice, Poetic Justice, all his movies. We watched Tupac Resurrection so we could get a full understanding of him as an artist, not just a rapper, but an artist.
Well, how about this? Going to your point, let's get a fuller understanding of you as a teacher, as an educator, as a creative yourself.
Right.
So let's start from the beginning. I know you come from a military background.
Facts.
You traveled around a lot. How does your travel, how does you being a black man in America, but also having a strong military tie,
Right.
how do these things affect you as a whole, as a professor? Tell us more about yourself.
Well, it gives me kind of a global perspective of everything. Like, for example, when we met, you know, a lot of individuals we went to school with had been in one city for the first 18 years of their life. I had already been around the world.
Right.
So that affects the way I speak about certain things because a lot of times individuals are speaking from a local perspective, but I got a global understanding. Simultaneously, I'm an 80s baby, you're an 80s baby, so you already know we came up in that cocaine 80s era. And I feel like that combined with being a child of the military industrial complex, you know what I'm saying? Like my pops joined the army right out of high school so he could get out of Detroit, you know what I'm saying? It was going down. And then my mom's, my auntie, my grandma, they all worked for Ford Motor Company. My mom's got laid off. She joined the army. She met my pops. That's how I got here. You feel me? They met in Virginia. And then when I was like 2, my little sister was born, and before she turned 1, we moved to Panama while Noriega was still in charge. You feel me? So even when I remember when Ross dropped Hustling and he was talking about Noriega, I knew that a lot of individuals probably didn't have the understanding of Noriega that I had because they didn't live in Panama while he was in charge of the country. You know what I'm saying? So I think my global travels just kind of informed my understanding of the music differently because I was in America when The Chronic dropped, but the next year I was in Germany when Doggy Style dropped. I was living in Georgia when Outkast dropped, you know, ATLians and Aquemini. And that's when I started noticing the regional misunderstanding of music, or more or less the conflict between North and South as far as musical appreciation and musical knowledge is concerned. You know, everybody was listening to what they were listening to in their region, and this is before the internet popped off, so there was less opportunities for individuals to even engage with music outside of their region unless you was a heavy hip-hop head that watched Rap City and had Source magazines and was aware of what was going on outside of the area you was living in.
Okay, so right, to get a further understanding of you as a lived experience,
Right.
because you say that phrase a lot. You talk about lived experiences
Right.
a lot.
Right.
So, as an artist, right?
Right.
Tell me about your love. Where did your love for the music come from, and how did you nurture the love to get to where you are now?
I'm gonna start in the middle where we met. Like you said, we kind of vibed over MCing. We
Mhm.
both MCs. Now going back to the beginning, it was always in the household. My pops listened to hip hop. So I remember 87 being in Panama, listening to Cool Mo D, How You Like Me Now.
Mhm.
And I remember later, seeing the cover of the album with the Jeep over the Kango and not knowing that he was dissing LL. I didn't know that till I was older. I had always seen the cover, like I said, in '87, but I didn't know until later that that was meant to be a diss. I didn't even know How You Like Me Now he was dissing LL until I got older. But that Rakim Paid in Full, like late '80s, that's when I really got into, the head nine aspect of it. And then Criss Cross came
Yeah,
out, and
that was my first concert was
that
Criss Cross.
that's crazy. And that was the first time I saw adults listening to kids' music. And that's what made me feel like I could do it. And then Snoop dropped, and I thought he was just the coolest in the world. You know what I'm saying? And he really made me want to get on the mic. But I didn't really get serious about it until I was probably 14.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I've been writing almost every day. You know what I'm saying? Like just for the sport of it.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's now turn that from writing into the sport of it, for writing into the education of it, writing
Mm-hmm.
into this turning into a whole career.
Right, right,
So how did you? Because all right, so listening to you right now, me knowing you, I actually thought this is something you might have brought to Florida State,
right,
because me knowing you, I know you plan
right,
out stuff, you read,
right,
you know how to write up plans and things of
right,
that nature. So I thought this is something you brought to them, and they were like,
right,
okay, we like it.
right.
But what you're telling me is, as a Florida State professor, this is something you naturally did. This is a
Yeah,
natural
yeah.
part
This
of
is
you.
me. This is me, and I think that's why I'm able to have such a high level of social capital and cultural capital with my students,
Mm,
because they know this is me, and they know that just even being a graduate of FAMU and teaching at FAMU and giving them that history, is one thing to have the knowledge. It's another to make decisions based off of the knowledge, which is the wisdom. You
right.
feel me? And then the understanding is when it comes full circle. So I had to go through some things being who I was, because everybody's not accepting of hip hop culture.
Right.
And that was part of the understanding. Like, well, if you're going to do this, you're going to face backlash. And it's not just going to be from the dominant population, it's going to be from your own people too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, I just always try to give the the real perspective of the culture and create a communicative relationship with my students both inside and outside the class. You see what I'm saying? Because if you're living the culture, or like my professor Dr. Hope would say, if you want to learn about the alligators, you got to go to the swamp.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if I want to make sure everything
Right.
is good with my students outside of the class, I got to be immersed in what's going on outside of the class.
Right.
And I was already into that when we was in school, as you know.
Right.
So that enables me to have a better connection with them. And of course, there's certain things they're gonna tell me that they're not gonna tell other professors, because I'm a younger professor, because they know I have that lived experience. They feel more comfortable communicating with me.
What out of this experience as a professor, as an educator, as you talk to about your students, right? What do you want to tell the world? What would you want your students to take away from your course as they leave? What is your passion point? Why
Hip hop,
is this
I got
what
you.
you're
I
doing?
got you. Because hip hop is bigger than the music.
Mm,
Hip hop is a reflection of American society, the good, the bad, the ugly, and most times the dominant population doesn't want to hear about the ugly. They like the beats, but they don't understand the lyrics. Just like teaching hip hop to black students is different than teaching to white students. because we looking at it as a lived experience, slices of life that we go through, and they're looking at it as entertainment. So now that I'm teaching at a predominantly white institution, I have to, kind of let them know, not in a harsh way, but in a real way, like, yeah, all that shoot 'em up, bang bang stuff is cool until you see somebody get shot
Shot.
on Menace to Society, and now you can't take it and you got to walk out the class. But we can't just walk away from these circumstances. We got to live through that every day. And that's a privilege to be able to walk out of class because you can't handle what you're seeing.
So, in instances like that, right?
Yeah.
I know you can't teach everybody, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Mhm.
What do you do when you are being rejected from trying to educate somebody with something that might seem taboo, something that might have a history of negativity in a portion where you're trying to show them more?
I mean, I just keep it pushing. There's times in life where keeping it real goes wrong.
Right.
So I keep it real, but at the same time, I keep it relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not telling you these things. Like, I've had students, go and, make statements like he's trying to make us feel guilty or trying to make us feel ashamed. But my question is, why do you feel ashamed? Why do you feel guilty? Because you know right from wrong, but don't shoot the messenger. Do something about it. And I told him that the first day of class, like, y'all, I raise change agents. I raise leaders. I don't raise no followers. You know what I mean? And I know that y'all friends, like, y'all have to give them this information because they're not going to be exposed to it no other way. They're not enrolled in this course. Y'all are leaders, literally, just because you in this class.
So what that sounds like to me is an example of what we call solutions journalism, not just bringing facts to people, not just toying with people's emotions by making them feel guilty or anything like that, but actually bringing solutions, actually having something to provide a change.
Right. Like when I was teaching journalism, we would have current events quizzes, and I would have them reading the newspaper. I would have them reading local news, national news, global news. We watching CNN to see what they got to say because they're supposed to be in the middle. We watching what MSNBC got to say because they're on the left, and Fox, we know they on the right. So we're going to look at the vocabulary and see the same story written 3 different ways, and we're going to analyze that, how a message is being communicated. And that's why the name of the class is Hip Hop and Global Mass Communication. What are the messages being communicated in the music and why? Even the name of my master's thesis is the evolution of commercial rap music. And what it discusses is how it went from party music to addressing social issues to gangster rap to the bling bling era to the era that we know now as contemporary trap music. You see what I'm saying? How did it get here? And if trap music is the genre of preference, why is the subject matter like that? And for that, you got to go back to the 1980s crack cocaine epidemic. You got to go back to the 86 Anti-Drug Act. You got to go to Iran-Contra affair, Reagan. You got to discuss all of that just to understand why people are talking about selling crack and trap music today.
So that's a lot. I know for people who I'm 37.
Me too.
So I know for people who are 18, 20,
right.
22.
Right.
What are some of the things that your students have said you've impacted them in a way as far as their mind changing?
They come up to me after class, every class period, like, thank you, man. Every class period, it's a few of them like, thank you. And then I get emails, of course, we discussing some tough subject matter, and it's 200 kids in the class. You might not want to say something in class, but I'll get emails like, man, I would have never known this had it not been for this class. And my friends may feel some type of way, or my family may feel some type of way, but you've exposed information to me that I know to be factual.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, it's all about creating change agents. It's 200 kids in the class. If 20 of them go out and spread a positive message about hip hop culture, like, nah, man, it's not really about this. It's really about this. And I've done my job.
Right.
I can't save everybody. And I used to try to save everybody, but it's impossible.
All right. So let's go ahead And let's throw in some plugs while we're here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about HBCUS.
Where HBCUS is the acronym for Historically Black Communication for Undergraduate Students. It's a new organization I just formed to train the next generation of Black student journalists. It's influenced by NABJ, the National Association of Black
I
Journalists.
actually did a work out there for them.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Well, we chop it up. And ACEJMC, which is the Accrediting Council of Education for Journalism and Mass Communication. They've got 9 standards that they judge institutions on. So my organization's foundation is kind of based upon their standards as well as NABJ's advocacy for Black journalists. But we're going to do something new with it. We want to really incorporate culture into our content, and this is not just for journalists and writers. This is for content creators. It's not it's for all HBCU students and Black student journalists at predominantly white institutions. And our final stage of growth will be connecting with Black student journalists in Africa, and we've already made those connections. You know, I've been going to Africa for like the past 5 years. So
I actually got some pictures on a computer I was gonna load up and show what we
word,
doing, but I can't do that right
for
now.
sure.
That was crazy. I think we covered about everything. Let's say quick fire questions, right?
No doubt.
If you had to let these people know, because all right, I'm sitting on this side, y'all sitting on this side. You can think anything of this young man. I know him personally, right? So, they've already seen your extensive knowledge as far as hip hop is concerned. Let's run down your credentials as a professor. How did you get your job at Florida State? You feel me?
I graduated from the Florida A&M University School of Journalism and Graphic Communication. You know what I'm saying? I was magna cum laude. My specific degree is in magazine journalism because I used to want to write for The Source or Double XL. But even before then, I was broadcast journalism. And then I decided that, you know, I think I want to just write, but I still got that broadcast skill set. So I moved to Tampa like for a year after graduation. Then I applied to grad school at Florida State for the Integrated Marketing Communications program. I finished that up. I got graduate certificates in digital media and project management. I wrote the thesis like I told you about, and that was kind of my foundation in research. And as soon as I finished teaching, I started teaching at FAMU at J School, you know what I'm saying? So I was blessed enough to begin my teaching career at the same institution and the same unit that I graduated from, which again lends to that cultural capital that I got with my students because they know I already done been through the struggle. So, you know, teaching there, I started off teaching publication editing and design, which is like Adobe InDesign. But even then I was using hip hop. I would have them watch hip hop stuff and, you know, whether it was a documentary or videos or whatnot, and, you know, make your magazine spread based off of, you know, what you're seeing and what we're watching in class. And then eventually, man, it's hot out here today.
It is South Florida.
Sweating profusely. But after that, I became full-time. You know, I got appointed the faculty advisor to the FAMU award-winning student newspaper. I've been the faculty advisor to our student chapter of NABJ and our student chapter of PRSSA, which is the Public Relations Student Society of America. You know, I actually was voted by the students as University Employee of the Year 2017. That's something a lot of people don't know. You feel me? And then, you know, I just kept it moving and kept doing more and more research. I started presenting at conferences and doing panels. I actually had lectured at the sociology of hip hop class at Florida State while I was teaching at FAMU. And, you know, I just continued to just stay embedded in the culture with whatever I was doing, even when I was facing whatever backlash I was facing from, you know, again, everybody's not a fan of hip hop culture. But I understand its significance and its practical usability within the realm of education. So, you know, when the opportunity with Florida State came up, it was just something that I had to take advantage of, and it's been going good for me. I, you know, made the front page of the paper, you know, Tallahassee Democrat, been published in the Root. I just got back from an academic conference, the American Educational Research Association annual meeting in San Diego, where I presented on hip hop culture and leadership, because a lot of times we think about hip hop and using it in the class, but we don't think about principals and deans that listen to hip hop culture and how they might use that to create stronger bonds and stronger communicative relationships with students. Because if you're a teacher that grew up in Liberty City, or you're a principal that grew up in Liberty City, and you at Miami Northwestern Senior High School, you might not be as quick to suspend or expel black students because you understand the socioeconomic circumstances that they're facing outside of the classroom. And statistics show that black male students are expelled and suspended at a very, very disproportionate rate in comparison to, other students.
So check this out, right? I think I've done a very good job at kind of holding myself in because I really know this young man.
Bless.
And I have my own reasonings as to why I have him here. And I'm a little league coach. I'm a father of 4. I love the kids like Trick. So we're really out here for you guys, for the younger versions of us,
for the babies.
So what I really want you to take away from this is that Nova is a regular person, but he's not regular at all. So if you're a person out there who's regular, but you're an avid reader, don't let somebody make you feel weird because you want to educate yourself.
Bless.
If you're amongst regular people because you enjoy dancing, because you enjoy rapping, because you enjoy creating, don't forget that you also enjoy reading and learning more and having a positive effect on life. And if you take that portion serious as well, you might be somewhere that you never dreamed and nowhere that anybody else ever dreamed, doing things that have never, ever been seen, ever.
Hey, bro, had you ever heard me say, yo, I want to be a college professor one day?
No.
Never. But it happened.
Right.
And that need to be, the message that sometimes we set limitations on what we can do. But it's also a thing where we don't know we can do it. If one of my students is giving a tour and they like, yo, Professor Johnson, come. They from such and such high school from Lauderdale or from Tampa. The kids looking at me like, he teach?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they never like identity, you know what I'm saying? And then, you've never seen a professor with locks before, or with my cultural disposition as far as how I dress, how I speak, which might be frowned upon by the elders. But I don't do respectability politics. And, that might be where keeping it real went wrong. But at the same time, it's resulted in, me being in the position where I am today. So it was just necessary for me to go through these struggles so that it's easier for the next generation. I died for sins.
So how about this? Nova's a very, very, very valuable person, especially to anybody who is heading in a very, very valuable direction. So let them know where they can find you. If you're a young person, an older person, anybody who like what you heard today and want to see how you can use it yourself, where do they find you?
You can find me by my government name, Maurice Johnson, on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Nova the Professor. You can check out my integrated marketing and communication firm on Instagram under IMC Firm, IYEEMCEE Firm. You can also find me Historically Black Communication on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we got the website getting developed right now. So again, we want to be able to communicate to multiple age demographics, not just the people in our age group, but the individuals that's a little bit older than us, a little bit younger than us, and way younger than us. But there's get at me whenever.
Yo, man, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me, dog. For real, bro.
Thank you.
You already know.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time. Jordan Purple Glass, Nova,
Bless.
aka Nova the Professor, aka Maurice Johnson, aka Professor Johnson.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, bro.
We'll see y'all next time.
Bless.
Go ahead, take us to black, man. They don't want to see us anymore.